Good morning. It is Thursday, August 15th, and today what I wanted to talk about were some of the reasons why it's so difficult to focus your gaming channel. And it's weird because I actually made 2 videos about this. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that somehow makes me the ultimate authority, because it absolutely doesn't. If I had all of the answers, this channel would be hyper-focused and perfectly aligned for YouTube success, and I haven't cracked that nut yet, to be honest. But one of the things I have noticed is some of the difficulties that come along with the act of trying to focus your gaming channel. Now, I actually linked 2 videos below, both of which I made around last May. One was why it's important, and the other was how you can actually do it, some different things you can do to try to focus your gaming channel. So, when I made those videos, ultimately, I had actually just begun sort of focusing myself in a way. And one of the things that I did was, originally this channel used to be a different channel, and I ended up pivoting it into the thing that I care most about, which is video games, and by extension, video game creators. Now, the actual act of doing that, I was like super happy with myself, right? I was like, oh yeah, I finally found my focus. I'm going to focus on video games. But that is so deceptively broad. To say you're just going to focus on video games is definitely a step in the right direction, but as I would learn soon enough through my own exploits, not necessarily the end of the story, because just because you say I'm a gaming channel, still very, very broad, because there are about 1 billion different types of gaming channels. Good morning. How you doing, Ma? So in that regard, Cynthia, what's up? You made it early. Congratulations. What time do you have class? Keep talking. You got this. Thank you, Sushi. So, even within the gaming space, that's an incredibly broad thing, right? You could be a console gamer, you could be a PC gamer, you could be a streamer exclusively, you could make pre-produced content, you could do vlog-style content. There are basically like 5 or 6 different arenas in which you can actually find focus. And I actually talked about that in a couple of those videos below, but I'll go ahead and high-level it and probably rehash some of that material throughout the course of this particular live stream. But suffice it to say that once you figure out that, oh yeah, gaming's still really broad and I still need to find a way to niche down, that can be an extremely challenging and daunting task. And really the reason for focusing, the high level reason that it's a good idea, is because most channels, even the ones that seem to have variety content now, typically did not start widespread doing like 50 different types of videos across 50 different types of subjects. Normally, the tighter your focus is, the greater your impact's going to be, because people basically subscribe when they find one of your awesome videos, and then on a long enough timeline they realize, oh, this person's going to continue to create content in that arena, and that causes them to keep coming back and getting more and more familiar with your content. Whereas the mistakes that I made early on YouTube were things like, oh, I'm going to talk about comic books, and then, the next week I might talk about video games, and the week after that I might talk about how much I love the MCU, so there really wasn't a ton of consistency there unless you were only tied into my personality, which at that point, I hadn't built up enough of an audience that would have even been a viable path. So there's definitely value in focusing your channel. Oak City, what's up, man? I'm happy, hope you're happy too. I am happy, Oak City. I woke up, in a world where I can get a $5 burrito. That's incredible. So, the other thing is, talking about why it's important in that initial video, the follow-up video that I did naturally were what are some different ways that you can do it. And some of the things that I came up with are technically kind of very obvious, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy for us to actually pursue those paths. And what, some of the things specifically within the gaming niche are, you could be looking purely at, format. You could be like a review channel. You could be a tutorial channel. You could be a news channel. You could be an opinion and rant style channel. I mean, there are, a million ways that you can choose to focus just from a content perspective, and that's to say nothing of niching down within the actual offerings of the gaming industry, right? You could be console or PC. You could be, even within that, you could be like portable, you could be retro, you could be modern, you could be like a mix of both. I mean, there's just like a million different ways that you could focus things down and actually, kind of get an idea of who you are, how you speak to your audience, who your audience is. And, again, those 2 videos are linked below if you want to go check those out. But today I just wanted to talk about why it's so hard, even if you have all that information. Because a lot of that information are things that I kind of figured out, just working through and grinding out the process of making YouTube videos on a regular basis. But then also, I realized that despite the fact that I knew some best practices, things like, oh yeah, it does make sense to be like, okay, I'm going to focus on this platform, or I'm going to focus on this type of game, or this type of content, that doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, it's still incredibly hard, even when you have some best practices in your head. Sushi says, don't mind me, my class is at 8 a.m., but I'm just sitting here regretting my life decisions. Hey, at least, you can regret them in good company, right? Because Uncle Strange is here. Good morning, sir. How are you today? Thank you for coming out so early. So to that end, I actually, and it's weird because this is one of the things, like at the end of this whole live stream experiment around Halloween, one of the videos I wanted to make were like just a basic list format of all of the things that I learned throughout the process, things that I hadn't considered or just observations I had about the constant process of getting up at 8 a.m. and doing a live stream. And the weird thing is there was supposed to be a totally different topic this morning, and I, kind of noodled on it a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if that's the best thing I could talk about this morning. And then this one sort of hit me randomly, so I actually got everything ready about 15 minutes before this started, if it seems a little bit rushed. But I think that's the challenge of the live format, right? Plus it's a nice personal challenge. So in terms of why focusing is so hard when it comes to your gaming channel, I came up with a list of about 5 different things that I think tend to make it more difficult, maybe than it probably has to be, or at least some reasons that you can point to that can make it, more difficult than it probably should be. Of course, my pleasure. Hey, okay, sushi. All right, so number 1, focusing on focusing is super hard. Right? I'm not talking about focus in some kind of broad kind of productivity sense. I mean, that's certainly a good thing to cultivate, but everyone sort of has their own process of going about finding their focus, right? Some people like to get in a quiet room, other people like to minimize the distractions. I actually have like a post-it note up over here, I'll put it on Twitter later, that shows the things that I have to do or I can't get focused work done. But the thing about focusing on focusing, which, gosh, that sounds so ridiculous and meta when I say it out loud like that, is that there are so many other activities that go into maintaining a gaming channel that it's easy to just let the entire process of, really thinking about what you're putting out there and crafting a strategy around it and being focused can sort of take a backseat to other things, right? Because just the bare bones things that you have to do for YouTube, that is like, scripting or, just shooting a video, uploading it and editing it, all those things sort of take time and mental energy, and it's easy for those to sort of take up so much time and mental energy that you just like, what, I would love to focus on that strategy thing and figure out how to niche everything down, but I just don't have time for that right now. Which is sort of dangerous in a way, because you can totally be productive and get work done, but if it's the wrong kind of work, you tend to limit your ability to, improve or excel anyways. So it definitely makes time to, or definitely makes sense to make time for focusing. But, aside from, just the production of YouTube, just regular life stuff gets in the way, right? And then, the other thing, too, is just, met activities? I don't know what I wrote down here. But, there are lots of things that can sort of, get in the way of you actually focusing on focusing. There are just a lot of distractions. It's easy to get caught up in things like social media or what's happening in gaming news or just the things you're personally excited about in gaming that really make the act of figuring out where you need to focus your efforts something that kind of takes a back burner. So you can kind of be your own worst enemy in that regard. I'm lazy. I stopped editing and started streaming. That's the thing. At least partially, I would say that's kind of what I did here. Not because I wouldn't necessarily call it laziness. It's just that I became frustrated, right? Because, to do content like this, I don't necessarily have to give you a really fancy B-roll cutaway of an Evernote notebook to illustrate the point that taking notes is good. I could probably just tell you that and it would be faster and more efficient. So that's part of the reason that drove me to this. But another thing that I think makes focusing really hard is conflicting information. And I gotta tell you, on a personal level, this terrifies me, because the one thing I don't want to become with this channel, the thing that will keep me up at night, that I never want to become, is the guru. And you know what the guru is. Gurus are those just complete jokes of people who will get, on YouTube, or they'll get on blogs or podcasts, and they'll be like, hey, if you want the answer to get that thing that you want, I'm the only guy that has it. I never want to be that. I want to be as transparent about the fact that I'm in the learning process as well. Just because I'm dispensing information doesn't mean that I know all the things. Absolutely don't. But the thing about the internet is, it is this beautiful and endless resource, right, of infinite tools, and tools that actually suit your particular style of learning. You're a visual learner, you can find videos on the sub that you need to find information about. If you're somebody who likes to read, you can find blog articles galore in any number of subjects, from farming to degreasing engines to, running a gaming channel, just kind of home for me. But because there is so much information out there and it is so easily accessible, and because, it's sort of this producer-consumer economy where you can just as easily create information people as you can consume it, that means it also becomes super easy to find conflicting information across a variety of sources. Even if you find people who are at the top of their game, people who are successful, and you can see oh, that dude's got a massive following, or that chick's absolutely crushing it and, making sure her gaming channel is on this consistent path for growth, you could get completely conflicting pieces of information from even reputable sources, which can make the entire thing confusing and in turn kind of exhausting, because you can absolutely run yourself ragged just trying to find good information. And the thing that's really dangerous about it, the thing that really freaks me out, and I've been a victim of this, is you will spend all this time researching, and then at the end of the day you'll be like, I did good today. I did a ton of work. But then at the end of the day, you really didn't do any work. You just looked up a ton of information and got confused by it, and then you're just like, well, I feel tired, so I must have done work, but not necessarily, or at least not maybe the most effective work that you could have done. Uncle Strange says, dude, I was doing 2 videos a day, 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. That to me sounds exhausting, especially with the effort that I would put into my videos. Like, for me, it wasn't just, oh, I can just talk for 5 minutes and then I'll just turn the camera off and then I'll trim it a little bit, maybe cut out some ums and then I'll call it a day. Because for me, I was obsessive about making sure that quality was high, which that's another reason for the live format for me is it's sort of a humbling experience because, again, I've always been like, you don't need fancy cameras, all you need is a phone. But again, I'm shooting and editing on a whole bunch of fancy gear. So for me, it was kind of a challenge to make sure that, I could do something that was, content valuable, not purely production-based valuable, because that's not really what I want to be known for. So yeah, conflicting information is definitely something that can absolutely run you ragged, and it can actually be, again, pretty deflating or discouraging if you're like, man, I just don't know what to do because there's so much information out here. I think that's something that makes, trying to figure out how to focus incredibly difficult. And next up, is kind of in that same vein, is that gaming just has so many options, right? One of the things you can do is type. And by type, what I mean is evergreen versus like trending content. Just within that, and honestly, the right answer there is probably a mix of both. I kind of do that on this channel. I've gotten a little bit better about it this year. But even if you figure that, get that squared away, and you're like, okay, I want to make something that lasts through the ages, or hey, I just want to capitalize on, what's hot at the moment and just do that consistently, then you have to figure out your format, right? And even within what you might say is a format, like if I just want to be like, oh, I'm a news channel, that is closer to getting focused and niche down. But then even within that, you've got like multiple different options, right? Are you the kind of news channel that just highlights, a variety of news throughout the day? Do you do that in the live format? Do you focus on a single platform and only give news about that? Do you, read articles live? I mean, there's a lot that you can do with just a single format. And then it's not like there's just one format, right? Again, you could be news, you could be opinion or rant channel, tutorial, review, like hardware tutorial. I mean, there's a lot of different directions you can go instead of just saying, yeah, I'm a gaming channel. Because if you say I'm just a gaming channel, there are a lot of gamers who are not like, I'm a gamer. They're like, I'm a PC gamer. I'm an Xbox gamer. Like, there are people that don't necessarily have that kind of broad sort of sense of where their tastes lie. And then finally, even with, a subject explicitly, you can figure out, if you're going to go very, very broad or very, very deep. Like, if you're going to do Nintendo Switch, for example, you might say, I'm covering all things Nintendo Switch, and you probably see a ton of channels that have exactly that kind of tagline and pitch. They're just like, welcome to Channel X, where we're all things Y. Right, you see that a lot, but ultimately they're usually not all things Y. They usually, tend to settle in even themselves into a few different formats or types of content that they produce, and and that's the thing, right? You could be like, I'm very strictly walkthroughs for JRPGs, which could be incredibly narrow, but hey, there's probably an audience out there that would eat it up. Or you could be incredibly broad and just be like, I talk about anything that is RPG news related all the time on this channel. So, again, the fact that it has so many options can make it a really overwhelming thing. And really, you could probably say that about any industry, but gaming in particular, where we're sort of conditioned to constantly look at the options, especially if you're somebody who plays games like RPGs that tend to like bury you in customization options, that can also be sort of intimidating. Strange says, my editing was fade in, fade out, cut the stutters, sync the sound, let it come. See, I could never do that. For me, I would be like, no, I need to add a bunch of fancy cutaways, or I need to do color correction, or I have to, adjust audio levels, or make sure I duck whenever I plug in sound effects and stuff like that. Like, I get really, really into it. And number 4 is actually weirdly, what's weird is I can't remember the name of the show, but I remember the name of the actor and I remember the scene. What is it? Anyway, it's on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. Aziz Ansari's in it, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the show, but he was reading, there's like a Sylvia Plath, I think it's a poem that references a fig tree, right? And essentially, I'm going to break it down to you. I'm no poet, certainly not a literary major, but what I can say is that, the central theme of it was that she talks about sitting under a fig tree and seeing all of these different figs, but she could only pick one of them, right? And each fig sort of represented a different trajectory that her life could take. And one of them she saw herself getting married and settling down and having children, and another one she saw herself being a professor, and another she saw herself being a world-renowned poet, and another she found herself going to like Europe or Africa, and then she realized that she could only pick one of them, and then she was filled with like this great sadness, right? And as she sat there basically agonizing over which one she should choose, they all start to wither and die. Basically, the takeaway lesson there being that, you know, if you choose absolutely nothing and all you do is sort of stew in, you know, just confusion and not being willing to commit to any particular course of action, that you kind of miss out on all of them, which is just tragic in itself. But the way I think that misses, or the way that I think that relates to gaming channels in particular, is this fear of missing out, right? Now I'll tell you personally, one of the ways that this manifests for me is if I start making content on a particular game, right, or if I stream a particular game, there's a part of me that instantly worries, ooh, what if I should have streamed that other game? Sometimes just because I'm like, I just like that game better, I think that would be cooler to play, and then other times I think to myself, like, should I stream something else because it will have a bigger impact, or it has, you know, the ability to bring more viewers into the channel, for example. And that's the thing, fear of missing out doesn't have to even be so granular. Again, that can be kind of a broad thing, right? If you're like, oh, I'm terrified of missing out, then you might think to yourself like, well, if I commit to this format, like I am right now, actually, and actually I will say this fear has crept in. If you are like, you know what, I'm going to be a live streamer, that's what I'm going to do, I'm only going to live stream every single day, but then you think to yourself, ooh, but, you know, like the Sega Genesis Mini's coming out. Am I supposed to make a video about that? What if I don't have the time to do it? Or what if I miss out on a whole bunch of new viewers and subscribers by not doing that? And I think that's one of the things that makes it incredibly hard to commit to or think about focusing down, is because when you focus, you say yes to like a very particular subset of something, whether that's format, whether it's platform, whether that's the method by which you produce content. And saying yes to things means that if you are going to be focused, that naturally, as a byproduct, you have to say no to a lot of things. And if you're saying no to things and you're not like steadfastly sure on the things that you chose, it can be easy to get sort of caught in this kind of stressful, like indecisive mindset of what are the things that I'm not doing that maybe I should be doing. Checkpoint says, hey Josh, hey Josh Love, and you are awesome, but please stop doing this when I'm busy or at work. Keep it up, I will watch later after work for sure. No problem, Nathan, I totally get it. Thank you for stopping by, hope you're doing well, much love. Jake, and hello, I totally missed that. Yes, it was Master of None, I totally forgot. Also, Adam, welcome. Sorry, sometimes whenever I like start like getting on the actual points, I'm looking at the chat less. So I think what I'm finding is the best way for me to do that is to get the point out and then visit the chat, talk for a few minutes, and then jump back into the next point, and then, you know, as per usual, just kind of jump into group discussion near the end. So thank you guys for helping me work through this, because without you guys being here, I would not be able to learn the nuance of this completely psychotic format I've decided to subject myself to for the next 90 days. And finally, so that, well, no, let me see, I think there's something more that I can say that fear of missing out. You know, just thinking about Master of None and the fact that you do have to say no to some things and yes to some other things does create this sort of indecision. I think that's, you know, basically accounts for a lot of the difficulty you can feel about the act of trying to focus your gaming channel. But, you know, there are other things that you can feel like you're missing out on too, right? If you commit to a certain frequency like I am now, there are things that I might miss out on in my personal life as well, right? If I say, like, not only am I going to do 8 a.m. live streams, but I'm going to do 8 p.m. live streams every single weekday, well, that means that anybody who wants to hang out with me, talk to me, steal my attention on social media, even people I really love and want to connect with, I might have to say no to that. And that's a scary thing, because that puts an entirely different type of doubt in your mind, right? Like, you can personally on the inside be like, oh man, like, I'm doing all this work on the channel or something else, like, am I making a huge mistake? Should I have spent time with my friend, or should I have gone to if it's your friend's birthday party, you can probably take a night off. But you know what I mean? Like, even like little things, like, hey man, let's go see a movie, and being like, nope, I can't go see a movie because I'm too busy hustling right now. And knowing that they may think you're a crazy person for it, that too could be a really, really stressful thing. Dad, hello. Sushi, I've been lurking. That fear of missing out on certain content is the same fear that Josh has about Animal Crossing. That is a half-truth at best, okay? Actually, you know what? No, that's a full truth. I'm worried that if I invest into Animal Crossing and I start playing it and I hate it, I'm only going to be doing it to make you happy, Cynthia, or Maro, or Beck, and then I'm going to have to not play cool games like Bloodstained. But again, much like Fire Emblem, maybe this will be the Animal Crossing that turns me around. I guess we'll find out. But finally, the last thing that I will say is one of the things that makes, you know, focusing your gaming channel really stressful, or one of the things that makes it hard to focus it, is the fear or temptation to switch, right? And you can even have this preemptively, but you might be thinking to yourself, like, if I commit to this, you know, what if I'm missing out by not changing what I'm doing? Or what if I'm missing out by not adopting the strategy that another YouTuber has? So you might almost say that this could be rooted in comparison or observation. For instance, let's say that, you know, you're on this mission to get, you know, 10,000 subscribers, or your first 1,000 subscribers, or whatever it is, and you sort of committed to a course of action where you're like, all right, I'm focused. I know that I'm only talking about console gaming. I know that I'm putting out videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday in a live stream format for 1 hour, and then I'm going to do, you know, like one pre-produced video a week. Like, if you have all that nailed down, you might might get into the thick of it and be like 1 or 2 weeks in and be like, yeah, this is going pretty good. I'm feeling good about the decision I made. But then you might see like one of your buddies who does a video and it blows up and they get a whole bunch of subscribers, and you can start to second guess yourself. Because you might be like, I've committed to this course of action now. Should I go ahead and switch in the middle of it? And that's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with experimenting. In fact, what you're watching right now is an experiment that I'm doing on this channel. It's something that I thought, I thought I could solve a problem by engaging this, right? One, I thought that I would learn things from it from the macro level, figuring out how it impacts your analytics. And two, I thought from a personal level, it was a fun challenge that would sort of force me to be more creative if I knew, like, yeah, you got to get on camera 5 days a week, first thing when you get up, pretty much. But I'm committed to it for at least 90 days. And right now I can tell you, there have been moments where I've been like, ooh, like that Sega's coming out, or there's this new piece of gaming hardware. I found out about this cool new mod that you can do to a system. Should I make a video about that? And I've had to say no to it. But there is a temptation, especially like if you see somebody else make those videos and they're blowing up and they're doing great, to be like, I'm going to completely abandon this. This was a terrible idea. But I won't. And I don't think you should either if you do end up finding something that is your focus, because you don't want to betray your audience, right? I don't want to make a commitment to you and be like, yeah, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., except for Tuesday. I had something going on there where I couldn't get in front of the camera. But generally speaking, I don't want to make that commitment and then break it and then sort of, put this in people's minds that, I'm not a reliable source of the content that you would come to expect. So those are my points for today. Those are 5 of the reasons that I think focusing is so hard. Mainly just because focusing on focusing is so hard, because we can get so caught up in all the other things that we're dealing with in our lives, not to mention channel responsibilities. 2 is there's so much information out there, and a lot of it can easily be conflicting and cause a lot of confusion and distress and make you just feel like you don't want to do anything because it is exhausting. 3 is that gaming has so many options inherent to it if you start looking at different things like format, platform, different content types. All of that stuff can be kind of overwhelming. 4 is that fear of missing out, right? That if you say yes to some things, the things you're saying no to are going to be so much better than what you chose that you might get dissatisfied with it. And finally, the temptation to just switch, or thinking that you can't really commit to anything because, once you get into it, you're going to see some shiny object over here that's going to draw your attention and draw you in. So those are some of my fears, but I'm curious, do you have any fears about focusing your channel? Or have you started to kind of move in a strategic direction and then backed off because of something that, was either scary or something you didn't know or something that gave you pause? I would be curious to know what your thoughts are. Chris, what's going on, man? Welcome. Poor Jake and being neglected. Josh says no to me all the time. I say no to you because I get personal fulfillment out of it. There is a certain pain that washes over your face, Jake, and when I tell you no, it's just fantastic, right? It's like eating candy. It's so good. I'm kidding. I love you. And that's why I act out the way I do. You don't act out that much, Jaken. Maybe on occasion. Cynthia says, Animal Crossing doesn't just make me happy, it makes everyone happy. I don't know that it makes me happy. And again, I know I've mentioned this on the live streams like 40 times, and I'm going to do it again right now because I think it's so important to warn people about the looming threat of the forthcoming Animal Crossing release for the Nintendo Switch, and that is that the game is incredibly stressful, right? If you took all of the, sort of delightful whimsy that you could get from a game like Stardew Valley, Dragon Quest Builders, Farm Together, and then if you took the whimsy part and just carved it right out of it with like a rusty spoon, then you get Animal Crossing. And all of that stress is rooted in the fact that it's real time. In Stardew Valley, if it's the middle of winter, right, and I'm thinking about harvesting certain crops, and I don't want, time to continue without me while I have to go do something like get a sandwich or go to work, I can just stop the game, and winter stops right there. It's forever winter whenever I want it to be in Stardew Valley. Animal Crossing, not the case. Everything happens in real time, and that's terrifying to me. And it's rooted within, I'll tie this back to one of the points, the fear of missing out. Animal Crossing is a fear of missing out machine, and it's not one that I know that I want to power on just yet. I'm learning so much about Jaken's psychological state. Oh, I'm sure it's rock solid. Abaddon, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Thank you for dropping in. How late were you up playing Breath of the Wild, just out of morbid curiosity? Sub-question, did you get shield surfing down? I did not stick around that long, I'm afraid. Maniac, what's going on, man? Sometimes I can feel hamstrung if I try to commit to a focused area. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I would like to know more specifically about what you mean, but I think I can relate to what you're trying to say. If I took just that statement and applied it to myself, are there areas in which I feel hamstrung if I try to commit? Yes, absolutely. And in a way, live streaming or this experiment that I'm doing is a way for me to sort of try to get away from that effect. And what I mean by that, again, is one of my chief frustrations with the process of doing 2 or 3 videos a week is I was like, I want to do more videos, but then I was like, but I can't make more videos without investing a ton more time if I want to maintain the level of quality that I've sort of set as an expectation. So then I was like, how do I get around this? And one was to realign expectations. So now I think people on this channel are slowly learning that at least for the next 90 days, you're not going to get, a bunch of fancy cutaway shots or me, doing beautiful, like, sliding shots with the DSLR of cutaway shots or anything like that, but it's going to be very firmly rooted within this live format. So really the reliability there becomes not like, oh yeah, we can depend on YourPlayerTwo to put out videos 3 times a week. It's, no, we can depend on to put it out 5 times a week, but at a lower quality. Quality being subjective, right? Again, content quality, production quality, and right now I'm choosing to favor content quality. At least I hope so. If this has been complete garbage content, please let me know in the chat. If you're just like, this is stupid, do something else, why can't you go play Dragon Quest Builders? Rusty Spoon. Okay, maybe that was a harsh sort of thing to say, but I'm just saying. My mom, Second Act Fitness here, says forever winter, what a terrible thought. My mom is completely obsessed with the beach. If she had her way, that's exactly where she would be 24 hours a day. So, she absolutely hates winter. Personally, I love it. Here's the thing. Nothing against you California cats. I think you guys are awesome. But I also think you'll never be able to appreciate a sunny day the way I can appreciate a sunny day. Because here in Ohio, it gets pretty cold and pretty gross in the middle of wintertime. But then, whenever spring and summer rolls around, you appreciate it in a way that I think people in tropical climates just cannot do. 1 a.m. and nope. Dude, I struggled with it too. Like, I couldn't get the timing down for actually putting the shield underneath, man. Beck, I assume those emoji mean you're getting ready for work. I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your morning routine to stop by here and listen to me ramble about things. Oh, and you shut up right when I said I keep wanting to say AC or Assassin's Creed, the Animal Crossing thing. I want winter forever. You really don't, Beck. You don't know what you're talking about. It becomes dark and terrible. Maniac says, like, if I want to focus on SMS... Whoop, hold on, chat's going a little quick. If I want to focus on SMS videos with footage, that takes a lot of my time where I'm not able to enjoy other games. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that one of the things you learn as somebody who makes content within the gaming arena on YouTube is that previously we're, basically, and it's funny, it's so funny you would mention that because the original video that I was going to do this morning, it'll probably be tomorrow morning, was the ways that being a gaming YouTuber has changed my gaming habits. And I would say that's one of them. Like sometimes if you commit to like, oh, I'm going to stream this and finish it live for you guys to hang out and enjoy with me, then that's time that you can't spend enjoying other titles, right? You sort of have to start picking and choosing your battles. Like there are some times when I think you should definitely make time to play games you just enjoy, because I think there's value in people seeing you play a game that you absolutely love. But then sometimes if you're on a mission for growth, or if you are trying to keep on top of developing trends, or if you're trying to make content that is likely to bring in more viewers, sometimes the sacrifice you make is you don't always get to play the games you want to. This doesn't even have to be true in just a live streaming capacity, right? Let's say like some indie developer kicks you a review code for a new game and you check out the game, you think it looks really neat. You may be really excited about that game, but it might drop at the same time a AAA drops that you've been waiting for forever. And then you commit to making a video and getting a review out at a certain point, and then that sort of eats into your time. So I can understand what you're saying by feeling hamstrung about it. This is inspiring though, dude. Love this format. Thank you so much. Like honestly, like feedback like that is incredibly helpful. Like I'm glad to hear that people are responding well to it. It's something that I had a great deal of stress and anxiety about, and then I was like, you know what, you just got to do it and see what happens. And now we are like 7 or 8 days in, I think, maybe 9. So we'll continue on and see how this goes. It definitely gets me excited in the morning, like a little scared, but ultimately excited, because I know that this is a fun time, and hanging out with you guys is a great way to get me pumped to get started for the rest of the day. Who is your mother? Wait, are you talking to Beck? That's terrible. I subscribe because of the smooth skateboard camera shots. I'll find a way to put them. Maybe I'll pre-produce a stream opener and it'll have some smooth skateboard shots. Actually, I think there were vlogs a long time ago of me and Jason longboarding, but we weren't very good at it. I'm getting ready to sleep. Oh no, work tomorrow. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, you don't have work tomorrow. Wait, Chris says yes, Josh. What are you saying yes to? I got a little bit behind, Chris. I'm sorry. Becky should have seen I was the only one defending Animal Crossing. Hey, again, I'm going to give it the old college try. I'm not purely on the Animal Crossing. And that's the thing, it's not baseless, right? I'm not sitting here like, ooh, cute animals in a thriving village. That looks stupid. No, I think conceptually Animal Crossing sounds great. But I think realistically, once you peel back that shiny outer layer and you see the dark underbelly of time management and stress that goes along with maintaining a good game of Animal Crossing compared against the stress that I have to do in my regular life, just not sure if I'm ready for that level of commitment. I just don't know. Sushi, you're my true friend in this fake world. This gets so deep and philosophical, you guys. It is good practice for your upcoming panel. It is good practice for the upcoming panel. That was another reason, sort of a selfish reason I decided to do this. So I didn't want to be, completely unable to deliver something of value in the live format. Although talking to them, there's gonna be a bunch of people like literally looking at me. It's not like camera lens, right? It's gonna be like a room full of eyeballs staring at me. So I'm gonna have to figure out if I can even do that. I'm gonna try to work on like that eye contact thing, right? Where you just like look like left, middle, right. Need to work on that, but I can't really do it here. Chris says when you work, play games, you have very little time. When you work, play games, make YouTube videos, game hunt, you have way less time, right? And then I will tell you, like, a temptation for me, and I'll talk about this more at greater length in tomorrow morning stream, is that there's always the temptation when I'm doing something gaming related that my mind is working, how do you translate this into content? If I go out to pick up a game, I'm like, should I make a video about this and put it on Twitter and see what other people are getting this game? If I'm playing a game, I'm like, should I be capturing this footage? There's always that temptation in the back of my mind. In a way, it almost takes away a little bit from the joy of gaming, because you're kind of reframing this thing you just had as a hobby that you personally enjoyed into a thing that now, make no mistake about it, is work, right? YouTube is a lot of work, and I always think it's kind of amazing and adorably naive when people are like, oh, that's cute, you make little videos on YouTube. They make it sound like it's like, like you're just like finger painting or something. It's just like this perfectly enjoyable activity that doesn't really, take any work whatsoever. And it's like, oh yeah, that cute little video that I did that was 3 minutes long took 40 hours of editing. Alright, that might be overinflated, but depending on your skill as an editor, I guess it could take 40 hours. Very true, CM Retro. Time to work. Have a great day, all. Maniac, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it, man. It's good to see you. Pay your mortgage with fruit, Josh. How is that dark? It's just so dark. In a world where you have actual rent and mortgages, I don't know that I want to devote my mental energy, like, after I can just get done paying bills, getting everything sorted out, then I look at my game, it's like, oh yeah, don't forget to pay your fruit mortgage. That's not fun. That's obligation, right? That's a game that takes over your life. No interest too, just fruit. I don't believe that. Nobody puts out mortgages without interest. You're living a lie, Lola. Dude, I do that. I'm always thinking about how to make content. I decided to not even film when game hunting anymore. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for me, one of the things that, the flip side of that, one of the things that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about why focusing is so hard is that it can be really scary, is right? Like, the things that you say yes to means that you're saying no to some other things, which that can be scary, can also be super liberating. For instance, if you are not a game hunting channel, or if you get to the point of focus on your channel where you're like, you know what, I like doing game pickups and stuff, but that's not my channel's focus, that inherently has a little bit of value personally, right? Because now you don't have to stress about going to pick up a new game or just being like, you know what, I'm going to run around for 3 hours and hit some thrift shops or hit some retro shops and see if I can find some titles I've been looking for to fill some gaps in my collection. You can just enjoy that as the part of the hobby that you always have without having to stress about, man, like, how come I'm not filming this? Or, is there some way that I can twist this into a piece of content for next week? Because I haven't figured out a video for next week yet. So in that way, I think it can also be a very liberating thing. And I think that's helpful. Mark from Soft Gaming, it's handy to have access to a camera at all times. Sometimes a basic vlog pickup can be watched by thousands. Oh yeah, and that's the thing, like, even though I will say that I don't necessarily think you should burden yourself constantly with like, ooh, how do I make content? I always have stuff at the ready, right? And the truth is, most people's phones shoot better video today than you were getting out of dedicated cameras from just a few years ago. That's completely insane. But to your point, I do keep a small amount of equipment with me in my car at all times, just in case. Like right now, I think I've got the an Osmo mobile stabilizer in there. I don't use it very much. I think usually if I want to get like really smooth footage, I'll use like the Osmo Pocket or something like that. But I do think, what is it? What was that line from the Boondock Saints when they were talking about how they were going to start like offing criminals and everything? They were like, we're like a 7-Eleven. Like, we're not always doing business, but we're always open. That's how I view my own approach to content creation. I'm not always thinking about content creation, but if I had to, in the moment, most days, I could start making something immediately wherever I'm at. For my own sanity, yes. And that's the thing, like being balanced enough to take time for yourself and make sure you have enough margin between being hyper productive and just sort of enjoying your life and making sure that any success you achieve on YouTube is something you can actually enjoy without feeling like, because that would suck, right? Like, again, in any arena of life, if you get super successful, but the way you enjoy that success is you're just consistently hungry for more, I'm I'm not saying that that can't be an enjoyable process on its own, but I do think it's important to have downtime, right? No matter how excited you are about whatever industry you work in, even if it's just for a couple of hours a week, like I think it's good to just stop, breathe, take a minute, indulge other things in your life that are important, because there are things in life that are far more important than YouTube success. Quality time with a friend, making sure you hang out, with your family. I think it's important to keep those things in perspective. It's handy to have access to a camera at all times. Sometimes makes people pick up for... Wait. You can neglect your Animal Crossing village, and the villagers will judge you, just like people that judge you in real life. They notice and miss you. They show you that you are loved. How is that dark? You're telling me there's not a dark side to real life judgment? Your sarcasm game is way strong, Cynthia. That's all I can surmise right now. Mark says, I use the Osmo Pocket due to it being small and handy. Yeah, it has incredible image quality, and then it also has such a small footprint in terms of like packing gear around that it's not so bad. Alan says, is that my beat in the background? No, that is not your beat. That is actually I was going to talk to you to see if I could either commission you for a beat, or if there was, some way you could help me figure out the best way to implement music on this channel. This was actually some chill Zelda music that I grabbed, called Zelda and Chill. I thought I put it in the description. I may not. I might have only dropped it in the chat the other day. But that was really just an experiment. Like, my goal with these streams is to improve it technically by, like, 5 to 10% every week, and one of the things I wanted to try this week was to add a little bit of background music, and that's actually, if I'm being honest, something that I got from you. I noticed that whenever you talk on video and you have background music underneath you, it sounds much better. But you do it on live streams. I'd never done that on a live stream before. The only time I'd ever engaged background music was in pre-produced video, where I would expressly use music for the purposes of filling gaps, or just providing, I guess, a sort of cadence or a rhythm to the video, so it, seemed a little bit more magnetic, I guess. Seems like a terrible psychological trick now that I think about it. Tom Nook is a crook, but he does not charge interest. Like you said earlier, unless you're in that position of editing, you have no idea. Wait, what? Sounded like my Zelda before. No, dude, there's no way I would grab a track from you and then just not tell you and just let you discover that organically. I feel like that would be a horrible move. This was just a test track that I'm using temporarily that I want to replace with something else. But if you're open to the idea of me using your music here, and I can commission you for something that you think fits the YourPlayerTwo brand, I would love to have that conversation. Because if I could use your music on the channel, I would much rather do that than just some random artist music or something. Because I would love to just constantly be like, if you like the background music, go check out Avalon Shot. That's what the dude does. Bye, Josh. I'm off to hunt. Good luck in the hunt, Lola. I appreciate you hanging out for a little bit, even if most of it was spent defending Animal Crossing or trying to preach your horrible, horrible fruit mortgage dogma to me. I cannot stand how YouTube always targets videos with copyright strikes, even a few seconds of a song and it blocks it. I've never gotten a strike. I've gotten claims, but never a strike. But that's the thing, like, how do I explain my position on YouTube copyright claims? It sucks as a creator, especially if you're using it in a way that's very clearly within fair use. I like their recent decision that forces claimants to basically manually show the section of video that's wrong, because I feel like that's going to cut down on a lot of the automated tools that would ding creators for no reason, often erroneously, often with false claims, just so they can pick up money. Actually, it was disgusting. I saw an entire Reddit post where people were talking about ways to make money, and I found it because I was specifically I googled how to scam YouTubers with copyright, because I was like, are there people out here who are really doing this? And one of the first things that popped up was there was an entire Reddit post, and this guy was like, hey guys, I just found a gold mine. You can basically use this software to create tons and tons of fake claims, and they're like, creators don't have the money or the time or the effort or the the intellect to fight the claim. You just start making money after you claim hundreds of channels. It was one of the grossest things. Like there are very few things that get me like mad or would get me out of sorts. That was seriously infuriating. Just seeing somebody that was like super proud of the fact that they're basically profiting in basically an illegal way off the backs of thousands or God knows how many YouTubers are just trying to legitimately make content, and they're not out just resharing full versions of music or videos to try to draw in views and I guess exploit the system in the same way they would. But that's just that's so frustrating. No idea how stressful ever just. Oh yeah, you're right. Lots of if you don't edit, you don't know how stressful it is. Absolutely. I mean, it is a significant time investment. Yes, I am. Any music I have out is free of charge. Well, I appreciate that fantastically. Those people are just idiots and scammers. They have nothing better to do. I will show that comment. It tried to censor you, Mark from Soft Gaming. Also, Mark, you have been here on the channel before, haven't you? If so, and I'm not remembering, I apologize. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of new people that drop in or whatever. But anyways, I'm glad you're here this morning, man. Appreciate the insights. So, what are you guys all doing with your day-to-day, just out of curiosity? Are you guys doing anything particularly rad on your channel, working on anything new? Cynthia, I know you've been vlogging at the very least. Or can we expect more vlogs of what you've been up to? Avedon, I'm sure that you're working on more music. And getting ready for the Chillcast. Oh, speaking of, I don't want to say that I'm cheating on you, Avedon, but to some small degree, yes. Because I will be on the Game Looters podcast tonight, I believe at 11 p.m. Eastern. I hope that time's right. I hope I don't show up at the wrong time, nothing happens. But they will be talking about some good stuff tonight, which I would talk about, but I'm not sure if they keep that secret until they're ready to go live, so I won't, but they send me like an agenda of the topics that were going to be discussed and where to find information for them. So I will be researching that a little bit to make sure I'm up on it, but some of the topics I was already familiar with, but at least one of them I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I need to go read up. Speaking of which, that is like my, I actually have a recurring task I have it on before the Chillcast, like every Friday, that says, like, Chillcast prep. So if I don't know the topics that you're talking about, like, I try to research them in advance. I figure that would make my father more proud than him condemning me for, you know, playing Doom in the background while I'm supposed to be focusing on the Chillcast. And for those that don't know, I am Avedon here on the channel, the mod, or one of the mods. He actually, you know, has a video, I guess it would be like a video podcast, the Chillcast, which happens every Friday night. It used to be at 10:30, now it's at 10 o'clock Eastern every Friday night. If you ever want to, you know, go over there and hang out, I will be there, usually without fail, except for weeks when work sort of gets in the way. But we talk about some of the most recent gaming news with a lot of other amazing personalities, like NX Revolution, or Rob Regal, or Chips and Sticks, or occasionally Jacob will be on. Let's see. A few days ago, I came by for a moment during work. Okay, cool. I'm on the Player Essence podcast, and oh, that's awesome, man. What time does that go down? Is that before or after 11? I'll try to swing in and check that out. That sounds fun. My unprofessional vlog. Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like you call it unprofessional, right? But at the same time, I think if you feel like it's unprofessional, if you're like, oh, you know, I don't have fancy studio lights or a bunch of other stuff going on, but people still love to watch it. You still get an amazing number of views on those videos. And again, I think that really does speak to the fact that like that is proof positive that content value is more important than production value. You don't have to have 45 fancy cutaway shots, which is something I'm prone to doing, to make a piece of content that people are going to love to watch and enjoy and interact with. Weekend of Photography in Bangkok, for me, I have been doing photography for about 4 years now, and I love it. That sounds awesome, man. How did you get into photography, just out of curiosity? Was it just like personal hobby, and then it sort of evolved into like an entrepreneurial effort for you? I have done videography for clients before, for real estate, once or twice for weddings, but I couldn't get into it. There's like an entire like culture and tactics that go into, you know, being that kind of an entrepreneur, that kind of business, and I didn't get into it. It wasn't for me. 9 o'clock, okay. I'll hold on. I'll put that on my calendar right now. I'll see if I can swing in. Today is Thursday. Podcast. Cool. So, let's see. Yeah, I kind of already covered all the points and everything. But yeah, going back to the, oh wait, hold on a second. Mark says, my brother gave me a Canon 550D one day, and I just love taking pictures, doing it ever since. That's awesome, man. Very cool. Top Spot, what's going on, man? How are you? I'm hard at work during your morning stream. Sorry I can't stop by and interact, dude. No worries whatsoever. It'll always be here after the fact if you're interested, Top Spot. Brian, how you doing this morning, man? I've got a few more minutes here, so I'm just really hanging out, just being chatty right now. That I don't have a, and that's the thing. Like, actually, here's a question: what do you guys think of adding additional segments to this? I've been toying with the idea, like the very basic formula right now for this live stream, which is, you know, again, I'm really happy that I did it because it was an easy thing that I could have overthought to death. But essentially, my only goal was to start doing, right? Less thinking, more doing. So I was just like, 8 a.m. every day you go live, and if you don't have something figured out, then you have to deal with that in the moment, which was great incentive for me to make sure I had something figured out, you know, at least somewhat in advance. But I don't know, what do you guys think of the idea of covering multiple things in the same show? Do you think I should just stick with the format of like, okay, like some tips, strategy, YouTube, you know, gaming discussion up front, and then just kind of hang out and chill afterwards? Or do you think that we should try to add a few more segments to it? Because if I get better at it, I think that's something I could probably do. It would take a little bit of doing, but you know. Nick says, "Oof, I missed this one too." You didn't miss it. It'll be up as soon as the stream's over, Diggs. You can check out the recap very easily. So she says, "Fun fact: if you watch the Chillcast stream and say that you're there for Josh, it makes him feel special." It really does. I hate to say it, but it's true. But that's the thing, you know, there are amazing creators on the Chillcast, and I think you should absolutely get to know all those guys, because if I didn't enjoy all of their company, people like Rax and NX and Rob and Chips and Abaddon, I wouldn't do it. That's the chief draw for me, is really just hanging out in good company. I'm not particularly adept when it comes to researching video game news. You know, that's not really my wheelhouse. I can do it, but ultimately, you know, the thing that keeps me coming back to the Chillcast over and over is they're just good dudes. You know, I like hanging out in good company, and at the end of a hard week of work, the fact that Chillcast happens Friday night, it's like an on-ramp to chill for me, which is appropriate considering it's called the Chillcast, right? I get to be in the company of other creators who are serious about the platform, who are hustling the same way that I am, and then we get to have a whole lot of fun doing it. And usually after the Chillcast is over, which is usually around midnight-ish, we'll hang out and like just play video games or just chill out, sometimes till like 2, 3 in the morning, and it's super awesome. It's one of the most relaxing parts of my week. Sushi, hi Brian. That would be dope. I need to become an early riser to tune in more. What you mean? So you think it would be dope for me to add additional segments to it? You mean, is that what you're saying, Abaddon? I think for replay purposes, you would be better off with covering one subject, but that's just me. That's just like my opinion, man. I see what you did there, and I love it. Love yesterday's video, by the way. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I was kind of iffy on that one. I'm glad that one resonated with you. That's excellent, Diggs. Also, if you guys have any actually, that's something I haven't really been doing, is asking for feedback. I've been putting the burden of idea generation pretty squarely on my own shoulders. Just real quick, for everybody that's in here, is there anything that you're having trouble with, or something that you're just confused by, or something you want to learn more about, but you're like, I don't want to take the time to learn about that, you go learn about it and get back to me. Please let me know in the chat, because I am hungry for ideas, because I've got like, what, 55, 60 more days of this that I have to get through, and I'm sure at some point I'm going to freak out and be like, I can't think of something to talk about tomorrow. So if I could sort of leverage your brain gravy and take advantage of it, I would really appreciate it. Really more of a favor to me, I guess. The idea of more segments would give this a morning show feel to the stream. You know, maybe that's something I'll start with in September. Maybe I'll see if I can add one extra segment. But the thing is, like, where do I go? Do I just do fun segments? Like, do I do like a 30-second challenge where I try to beat some impossible task in a game? Should I, you know, try to keep a brain consistent and make it more informational content? Maybe that's, you know, it's an interview type situation where somebody comes on and talks with me for a few. But that's the thing. I will be working on that. And I actually have a firm commitment from at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different creators right now who are like, yeah, man, I'll totally come on stream for an interview or just to talk about stuff. But the first one, the absolute first person I will have on here will have to be Abaddon. Abaddon knows how to technically set it up, so he agreed. Sorry, Abaddon, I don't know if you want me to say this or not, but he agreed to help me on stream at some point to make sure that I don't look like an idiot from a technical perspective. Personal perspective, that's really all on me. May need your advice this weekend. Actually, absolutely. I would be happy to, you know, offer any advice that I can, or, you know, if I don't have any good answers for you, I'll try to find a smart person. You know, somebody who knows more about that particular subject than me, but I am curious. Mark says, the most important thing is to do what you love and enjoy. That's all there is to it. Anyways, thanks for the replies, mate. I am off to have nice Indian curry with the... Ooh, I'm super jealous, Mark. Actually, it's weird. I've been experimenting with the idea of trying out Freshly, and one of the dishes they have if they deliver food to your door is chicken tikka masala, which I think would be amazing. But, dude, thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy your time in Bangkok. I hope you have a tremendous time, and I hope I see you back again soon. Offer stands, thank you. I appreciate it because I elapse like I don't know, and for some of the stuff like someone else who I'm using as a reference point actually is Player Essence, right? Like when I look at OJ's setup for live streaming, I'm like, this dude's got a lot going on. Like there's a lot of very cool interface elements he has, and some of those, I don't think all of them, but at least some of them I would like to roll into my own presentation for streams. And I will tell you now, I've talked to Jason and he has lovingly agreed as my best friend and under at least a small amount of guilt to work on creating a better thumbnail type situation for this live stream series, so people can at a glance tell like, oh, that's the morning stream, don't need to see that, or yes, I do need to see that because I can tell it's the morning stream. But looking at OJ's setup, some of the things he has, I'm not sure if I can do it with OBS or some of that stuff is specific to Streamlabs OBS, so I definitely have some homework to do if I want to start taking this to the next level in tiny baby step sort of degrees on the weekends. See you later, Mark. Toswat says, I'm hoping to do a live stream in October. My intention is to begin with a pre-recorded segment and transition to live. It's counter to your workflow, but I think something like that might work for you. No, actually, I was thinking of doing the same thing, although when I thought about doing pre-recorded stuff and integrating it with live, I thought that, you know, I would basically show footage and then I would just talk over it and leave the mic source live. So basically, if I pre-edited a video and plugged in and I was like, hey, so I went game hunting this weekend, here's a look at the things that I found, and then it would sort of bring that video in and I could talk over top of it, or I could use it for a, you know, quick pee break, I guess. If I just did a voiceover in that and didn't have to do it live, then, you know, I could go get a sandwich or something. That might not be the worst idea in the world, so. But, unfortunately, our time must now come to an end. I have to get ready for work myself. But thank you guys so much for coming on this morning live stream journey with me. I appreciate it immensely. I hope the content has been to your liking. Again, if you have comment or if you have feedback or if you have ideas or things that you would like to see discussed here in the mornings at 8 a.m. or things that you're struggling with or things that you think, hey, how come you're not talking about that? That's what everyone else is talking about. You should be covering this subject. Please let me know either in this live stream chat itself, or if you think of something throughout the day after the fact, please drop a comment here, or if you're just like, I'm not going to comment there, I'll just text you. I have your phone number. That's fine too. But I will literally take anything that I can get to make sure that I'm creating content that is going to serve you reliably every morning at 8 a.m. Well, every weekday morning at 8 a.m. And then we'll continue this live stream journey, right? We'll see where this adventure takes all of us, which to me, I'm guessing is going to be to Starbucks a lot, because coffee is important to the process. Imagine Josh adds wacky sound effects from the Stream Deck. I'll add some wacky sound effects. You know what? I'll make that my goal for today. I'm going to see if I can add an Animal Crossing sound effect just for you, Sushi. And then I'll surprise back with it as well. Bye, have a good day, everyone. You're the best alarm clock. You flatter me, sir, but I am going to try to continue to be that alarm clock, at least through Halloween, until this process grinds me into, you know, a horrible depression because of the overbearing workload. Actually, it's actually been the opposite of that. It's actually been comparatively a lot less work from a time investment perspective than doing the pre-produced video 3 times a week. Doing a live video 5 times a week has actually seemed a little bit easier from a raw production standpoint, and that's given me more margin to work on other things like learning new things or investigating the technical nuance of the live streaming format and what have you. So, alright, I'm gonna go ahead and take off. You guys have an amazing day. I wish you the best on all of your channels, and I will see you here same time tomorrow morning. Alright, take care, and